What's up, friends? Chelsea Winstead here. We are going to be doing our February housing market update. Now, this is going to be based on information that came out in January, but I think it's really important to understand if you're looking to buy a home in NC, what things you should be aware of. By the way, if you didn't know this, I am a home financing strategist and a mortgage broker. I'm also a local to North Carolina, so I personally live in Wilmington, but I support clients all over the state for a variety of reasons. So I'm going to dive into a couple of the core places that my clients live. If you are watching this and I do not mention your specific city in this video and you want me to, drop a comment and I will make sure to include that on my next clip. Okay, so let's first start off with Leland. So just as a PS, Brunswick County is one of the hottest growing counties in the entire nation right now, which is pretty interesting. Let's talk about a couple nuggets that's currently happening here. So first of all, median home price. Also, I am reading notes because I want to make sure I'm giving you the right information. Okay, so median home price right now is about $375,000. This is up about 2.7% year over year. Okay, now get this: the days on market right now are between 81 and 83 days on average. This is up noticeably compared to last year, which means that it's just taking people longer to sell their homes. For you as a buyer, that is a good thing because that means that you have more negotiation power. Now, the buyer versus seller's market, right now, the sale to list ratio is about 99%. What that means is that most homes are tending to sell right around their asking price, okay? However, again, because of those rising days on market, there's a lot of additional opportunity for buyers to have more leverage now compared to previous years. Okay, so again, all right, let's go to Wilmington, okay? Median home price in Wilmington, so that's right over the bridge, is going to be $458,000 is the median home price in Wilmington, okay? Days on market. Now, this depends a lot on what type of home, the neighborhood. I always say this, literally there's so many factors that impact this, but days on market will, on the short end, is 37 days for probably homes in those hotter places to live, but upwards of 77 days. So again, depending on your search parameters, the longer a home sits on a market, the more leverage you have as the buyer, okay? Now, year-over-year price trends are showing that we are seeing homes in this area grow anywhere between 5 and 15% year over year. But an additional point to recognize is that the close to list ratio, so how closely people are paying for the home versus what it's listed at, is 98%. Okay, so sellers still are getting pretty close to their asking, but there are more pieces of negotiation that buyers are likely getting right now. Okay, agents in the area would say right now that the market is balanced, but with inventory rising and the days on market continuing to creep up, you're going to start to slowly see this really move into being a seller's market. All right, let's talk about Fayetteville. I mentioned Fayetteville specifically because if you don't know this, I'm a prior Air Force officer. I help a lot of my active duty and veterans purchase homes. So in Fayetteville, as you know, or if you don't know, there's pretty big military population here. So median home price in Fayetteville is $230,000. So very different than some of the other places in the state. Days on market are between 43 and 48 days. So it's actually fairly quickly. We tend to see a lot of the homes. The movement of homes really directly correlates with the PCS cycle with people coming in and out. So keep that in mind. Now, the year over year price trend here is pretty minimal. So we've got two estimates here. 0.9% from Redfin, but only a 0.1% in Zillow. So what that means in general is that the home prices here are essentially flat year over year. Okay. With that said, what's interesting is the homes on market are going quickly compared to some of the other places in the state, but with the prices being flat, that growth being flat, it creates a little bit of an interesting, conundrum to figure out, is this a buyer's or a seller's market? Technically, because of those two elements, we would say that Fayetteville is a balanced market, okay? Because we have kind of those two levers that are opposing each other, if you will. Neither are seeing extreme wins as far as sellers aren't just crushing it and getting all cash offers, but also buyers aren't able to go and lowball an offer and then get the house. So we're kind of in the middle. Now, when it comes to price versus list, so about 47.6% of homes are selling under the list price right now. So again, there's a lot of negotiation that's possible. So in general, Fayetteville is considered stable and affordable compared to some of the more coastal and metro markets. a lot of the momentum that is driven in this area is related to the military presence, okay? All right, let's move on to Charlotte. So median home price in Charlotte is $425,000. Average days on market is 53 days. This is definitely much slower than what we've seen in previous hot sellers markets, but we've still got some pretty moderate activity. Now, year over year price trends, prices are up about 6.5% year over year. Right now, though, Charlotte is considered to be a balanced market, okay? So we've got moderate inventory, so about 4 months supply. We typically, when we are in a balanced market, we're seeing 6 months of supply. So we've still got a little bit of a shortage, but the price versus list is right at 98.1%. So homes are selling pretty close to what the asking price is. In general, most metros tend to do better, like even during times of just like issue and problem, because so many people live close to cities to be able to work in the city. So a lot of metro markets are not as impacted as some of your more like suburban markets, if you will. So with that said, Charlotte is still a really solid market for demand, but we are not seeing the same amount of like crazy multi-offer, environments that we have seen in previous years. So the fact that we have homes sitting on the market for 53 days that's like a benefit to the buyer, but the fact that we still only have 4 months of inventory, that's more of a benefit to the seller, because when we have a restriction on inventory, it means obviously there tends to be more competition. So either way, if you have a strong team, if you have, somebody strong on the financing side and you have somebody strong as your agent, that will make your negotiation smoother and will just likely get you more bang for your buck in that scenario. Okay, last but not least on my list for today is going to be Cary. So Cary, the median home price is $554,000. Days on market right now are between 47 and 52. So almost close to that 2-month mark. We are seeing that, get this, Redfin shows that year over year pricing is down by 11.5%, which is pretty notable. Like that's a pretty big drop. Zillow only shows 1.9%. So either way, both are showing that prices are trending downward this year. So anytime, again, that we see movement downward when it comes to a home price, that means that is a big indicator that as a buyer, you are going to get more of a benefit, right? It's a tactic that's going to help you in that scenario. In general, though, because the days on market, 47 to 52, that's not like outrageous, right? Like it's still longer than we've seen in previous markets, but historically, that's not a crazy amount of time for homes to sit on the market. Technically, we would say that Cary is balanced, but it is buyer leaning because of these scenarios of home prices dropping. Like that is honestly the biggest indication. If you look at a market and home prices have cooled, like they are literally dropping compared to the previous year, you as a buyer have a lot of advantage and leverage, because it just simply means that people are struggling to sell their homes, which like it's a whole other debate and a whole other conversation. But if you as a buyer are looking to pay the least amount of money for the biggest purchase you're ever going to make, doing that in a cooling market can obviously help ensure that you're not overpaying for a home, right? Now, I'm going to do a whole other video at some point on just like certain places in our country when it comes to like home values and the prices of insurance and property taxes and people being underwater on their homes. And like, we'll get into that. But North Carolina does not tend to be a place where that happens. So with that said, 5 places we hit: Leland, Wilmington, Fayetteville, Charlotte, Cary. If you want me to hit your city next month and I did not cover it in this video for North Carolina, leave a comment. I will make sure I get that added to my list. If you have any questions whatsoever, my team and I are here to help you. We help you create a plan well before you are ready to purchase. My thing is I never want to kick off with you and I'm giving you a pre-approval. I want to kick off with you and we run numbers. We look at what's going on in your market. We figure out what is your budget, what can you afford, what are you comfortable with spending? And then how do we make a plan backwards to then map that into a purchase price that makes sense for you, right? Because too many people, the first time that they speak to a financing professional, it's after they've talked to an agent, they're already lit up, they already see their house that they want, they're really like excited. And then I have to give you the numbers on that house and you are just unprepared. Okay, so what we do is we pull back the pressure on that. We start with the numbers, we start with your budget, we start with figuring out what price point should you be looking in, and then we loop in an agent. So PS, if you are relocating to the area or if you just don't know anyone in particular, I do matchmaking with my clients where I can match you with the top agent in your area. So got you covered there as well. Okay. All the links are below. If you are new though, and you're interested, please follow along. I do updates on all of my major states at least once a month to give you the rundown on what is going on and what to expect as you are navigating the home buying journey this year. All right. See you guys next time.